Hey, Coach. You're a hard team to kind of keep track of. You're all over the place.
Traveling a lot right now. Yeah.
How's the suitcase? Is it basically your home right
packed.
now?
Yeah. We got home, what time last night? It was kind of a lost Sunday, and then we gave the girls the day off today, so we need to get back after it in the gym tomorrow. But it was a tough weekend for us, given that we were in a tight match with a pretty good team, a well-trained team, Idaho State. And we got off to a slow start and were sort of just lethargic, I think, which can happen. And when we were starting to kick it into gear a little bit, you know, we actually won the first set playing very poorly, I thought. But just when we started to sort of kick it into gear, Olawalafe came down off the block. She jumped kind of early and came down, and the Idaho State kids were really hitting the ball pretty hard and caught her left pinky, her right pinky on her attack hand, and she suffered a clean fracture just below the knuckle right at the start of Game 3. So, you know, very disappointing loss to a team that we had, you know, we had expected to outperform and come away with a win in that match, and then we're up trying to get ready to play Nebraska, Nebraska is just one of the truly unique teams I've seen in my time in Division I volleyball. They're really talented and have a unique system with bookend players. They have two great outside hitters who are both about 6 foot. They have they run a 6-2 offense, so two really outstanding setters. One, the coach's daughter, Lauren Cook, and Sydney Anderson, who transferred from Utah. And they have two 6'5" left-handed opposites. Plus, I think the best libero in the country, Caleb Banworth, who was named the MVP of the tournament. So they just, we actually, if you looked at the game tracker, we stayed with them in all 3 sets, and then they pulled away. I think we were very close up until the 15-point mark in each of the 3 sets, and then they just sort of asserted themselves and pulled away. So at the end, the fact that we were able to come back from down 2-1 at BYU and play our best volleyball of the year and just run them off their court in the last match was a great way to end that tournament. We needed to win in the worst way, and something kicked in. I'm not sure what, but Marianne Guerra, walk-on freshman, was playing for D, and we played just fantastic defense and held BYU. I think we won 25-12, 15-7 the last 2 sets. But it wasn't even that close. We just absolutely crushed them, and they're not a bad team at all. So it was given, you know, the big question is Dee's injury now, as we have this quick turnaround, 1 practice day, and then we'll be back traveling up to Spokane.
Well, overall, 6 games in, 3 up, 3 down, young squad, inexperienced, all that. Satisfied, dissatisfied, about there in the middle, I guess? What would it be?
A little bit disappointed in that is a little bit of the roll of the dice, I would say. When you play, it's never an excuse, but an explanation. We were fatigued against Notre Dame. They hadn't played a match that day, and we had played 2 hours, over 2 hours, and then had less than a 4-hour turnaround to play them, and lost deuce in the 5th set. So that was disappointing. I wanted to win that match, and I know the girls played really hard, and I think that under different circumstances there might be a different outcome. So that was a little disappointing. And then to have an injury to one of your key players who's playing at such a high level. Dee is just unstoppable with her offense. It reflects in her numbers. To have that injury, and I don't know what's going to, at this point, I don't know where she stands for this coming week, whether she'll be able to, I understand from our trainer, Chris Ritter, that she will see a hand specialist probably tomorrow and be fitted with some sort of splint that hopefully will allow her to play, because she means so much to us. She is just incredible. She's physically so dominant. She jumps so high that she attracts attention as an offensive player, and then she's intimidating at the net as a blocker. So I can't be anything but disappointed with a loss to Idaho State, but the circumstances are, in rally scoring, anything can happen, and like I said, we came out flat, won game one, and then just when it really meant something, we had an injury that, shocked the entire team. So, I'd like to be 5-1 right now.
So you'd put her at questionable for this weekend, and she might have some sort of a cast on her hand. Okay.
That's just me saying. I have no idea what the word is from the training room.
Okay, but there's no concern that this is going to be lingering for an entire season or anything like that?
No, most of us who've played have that injury. I have my permanent bent right pinky, and typically when you're blocking, that's the one that will get the brunt of that finger, I think, tends to be dislocated more than any other finger for volleyball athletes. And it has to do something with the dominant hand and blocking and having your fingers out there exposed to a ball that's coming at about 70 miles per hour. So luckily, I've been through the injury myself. I dislocated and had a compound fracture where I actually pulled it out of the socket and kept playing until I realized how bad the injury actually was. For Dee, the good news is that it was a very clean fracture and it was not dislocated at the joint. It was just a broken bone that was reset. She didn't need a pin in there or anything. And I suspect that it's going to be a matter of her pain threshold, and that she's going to want to play, whether she's ready to play and whether it makes sense. Ultimately, her health, long-term health, is the number one concern. It has to be, even though these matches are critical for, to prepare us for the rest of our season. So we'll see.
Yeah, what does this schedule, it's certainly not an easy preseason schedule or non-conference schedule. What does that do for you come at the end of the year when you're playing conference opponents?
Well, I know that our win against Arizona is going to mean a lot. We hope now that Idaho State is the real deal, because they should have beaten BYU. They should have been 2-1 in that tournament. They actually had some hometown cooking. I think I was sitting up above the court, and with game point, they had BYU hit one ball that I saw, in my opinion, was about a foot out of bounds that they called in, and then a second non-call on the BYU setter who dumped the ball over and continued with her hand into the net, and they called the net on Idaho State. And either of those plays would have given Idaho State the win. And they're a well-coached and balanced team. So, I hope they do well in the Big Sky, I guess is their conference, so that it won't be catastrophic when it comes time to seeding the NCAA tournament. Other than that, Nebraska is a juggernaut. They're going to be there at the end. Unless they have injuries, they're really unique and very tough to stop, and very, very well coached with tremendous athletes. So this next section of our schedule is really important because we play 4 matches that we should win, that we would have going into the season expected to win all 4, and we'll see.
Hey, John, with the young players that you have some true freshmen and some true sophomores. As much travel as you do you have to coach them mentally and physically with the ins and outs and all that you've got to do with traveling?
Absolutely. It's a great question. The younger kids they're not as, I guess, naive to the rigors of travel as you'd see 5 or 10 years ago, because the club teams are traveling much more, the highest level. Christina Graven, she's made both all-tournament teams, both at Notre Dame and BYU, has been on the court I don't think she's come off the court at all. And so I wonder about her with that question. How will Christina Graven handle the rigors of all this travel? And I think that it's important that they hear certain things and that they get to rest. We would have loved to have worked on a few things today, but they needed a rest. I think our coaching staff needed a little bit of a break. We did a lot of work in a short period of time at Brigham Young with the turnover so quick that the answer is certainly just simply yes. They need to be coached as to how to avoid overtrained states and how to catch up on sleep when they have the opportunity, how to take Labor Day and use it to recover so that they're ready to practice well tomorrow and then get on the plane and travel again. And so, if we were in a vacuum, we take that same product that was on the floor at Brigham Young that just ran BYU out of their own gym, and we put that out on the floor in Moscow against Idaho, we'll do very well. But things can happen. You travel, and will they have the same intensity and all those variables? And I hope so. But it's certainly something that we address.